Hi. For the record, my name is Lacey Schmidt, and this is an experiment in authentic posterity, episode number 2. It's a little bit challenging to keep myself as conversational as possible and pretend I'm talking to one of my loved ones. So I'm going to try to make it a little easier on myself, and I'm going to rely on 351 life story questions to ask people when storytelling to pick some of the conversations to start with. That's really lousy focus. Sorry about that. But it is website beginmystory.com. And the first kind of question that comes up is, what did you like to do when you were a little girl? For me, I was born in the 1970s, and in my earliest years, I really liked to be outside. We lived on the beach or near the beach, and I liked going down to the water every day and walking along the shore, and that has continued. Obviously, I'm a water baby, as they say. I took swimming lessons at 18 months old, and I loved it, and I've never looked back. Always continue to love swimming and being in and on the water. Um, I loved being outside, period, wandering in the woods, looking in the garden with my mom. My earliest memory, in fact, is sitting in the garden in a diaper and no shirt in mom's garden while mom was trying to do something with the plants and seeing a ladybug and trying to get her attention and get her to tell me what that was. What is this small little critter moving around with the red and black spots and looking like maybe they're eating this leaf or doing something to one of these plants that she spent so much time and energy planting. And I think that that experience with the natural world as a little girl was especially formative for me. How and why do things connect? And the vastness of the ocean as a little girl, I think, too, was a good experience. That there are things much, much larger than me in the world. And that was one of the first things I saw outside of my own family and my own experience with my mom and my dad, my older brother at the time. My younger brother wasn't around yet. But those early experiences in the first 7 years of my life, before my younger brother arrived, were very much in context in that island community that was surrounded by the ocean, uh, a bay behind us, the Gulf of Mexico in front of us, um, watching things roll in after storms, and knowing that this big, vast thing could bring you something new and exciting to look at and discover every day if you paid attention. If you stayed curious enough to play with the things that maybe looked a little icky or uncertain at first, like that seaweed. uh, Learning to appreciate the minor irritants, like the grains of sand between your toes, and thinking of it more as a privilege than a something to endure. Gosh, sand can feel so warm when your feet are cold, or so cooling when your feet are sunburned and hot. And And there's that positive side to anything without really being a Pollyanna, as they say, or being a total optimist. Because I'm sure I'm an optimist, but a realistic one, I think. And those early experiences help shape that. Um, it's okay to admit that things can suck, and that parts of even the best experiences are a little difficult, or maybe irritating or annoying. But within that, there's some beauty of being this tiny but meaningful part of something big and vast, and being the curious member of that system, of that whole earth that goes forth and discovers and shares and enjoys and can spread that enthusiasm or can dampen it for everyone, depending on what you do. And unconsciously, at the time, I think because of a good example from my parents, I really thought of it as an opportunity to spread the enthusiasm and look at the things that were awe-inspiring, because no matter how awful things get, there's always something more to learn, and you can never, ever, ever extinguish that. There's always the joy of that, having something new to learn and discovering something, even on the microscopic level. Uh, Looking into the microscope with dad, I think, was a big influencer of that. Even if you're stuck in an office, stuck as a vet tech doing something, there's this whole other microcosm, this whole other world beneath the microscope, something new to learn and discover. And there's so many levels on which to do that. Um, Grain of sand on the beach, the Gulf of Mexico itself, the oceans of the world, our solar system, right? It just keeps expanding from the tiny little atom to the dark matter we don't even begin to understand yet. And that was clear, even as a little girl, that was clear to me that there's all these things to learn. And that is a joy that will never be extinguished. So I think I answered the question, what'd you like to do when you were a little girl? Interact with the world, firsthand, on hands. I was a bit hyperactive, and that runs in the family. Thanks for tuning in. See you next episode where I'll try to tackle question number 2. Oh, what did I do on my first date?